Everyone, thank you for coming to our March NEWNC meeting. I'm John Bregman, the president of the council here. I'd like to recognize Phil Mandela of the North End Regional Litigation Review and Connor Finley, who's taking to NorthEndWaterfront.com. So you're any other members of the media present that acknowledge themselves? I'd like to call this meeting to order. Let's start with roll call on my end. Gennaro. John Bregman. Thank you. Carmen, as the Vice President, please do the protocol.
So the meeting will be conducted according to the parliamentary rules. The President will have the final word on the conduct of the meeting and will cast a vote only in the event that the rest of the council reaches a tie. The President will recognize the speaker to make his presentation or statement, and then he will permit the council to ask questions. He will then open the floor to questions from the audience, and each audience member should introduce themselves by name and street address. No person will speak until they have been recognized by the President. All speakers will be confined to time limits. Voting will be done by ballot, and the result of all votes will be announced at the conclusion of the meeting.
Thank you. And I'll just add to that with 6 members, this is a quorum, so we can't vote and it will be official. We're hoping that other members will come as we go on into this meeting, but irrespective of that, we still can vote tonight. Now for my report, I'll just mention that we'd like to have a discussion for next month's community chat on the possibility of the Nazaro Center, and we're made aware that there's a project study about it, so we're hoping that maybe that could be something that we can talk about as a community next month, but that hasn't been confirmed yet, so please just check with us for more details as the April meeting approaches. Now for our committee reports, unfortunately Danielle couldn't make it tonight, so we're going to skip that and just move right to public safety, where Sean Hennessy can provide a report.
Thanks, John. A couple robberies in the month of February. One was on Hanover. A couple of white men robbed a wallet from somebody. Another one on Salem Street. A couple of white men pulled a knife and grabbed someone's backpack. Bank robbery on 389 Hanover at the Eagle Bank. Then an hour later, they struck again on State Street at the Santander. They jumped into a cab. The police were there. They stopped them, and both were arrested, both white men. Break-in on 79 Margin Street, and they got DVDs, a tablet, a wallet. A couple of larcenies. One was from a car on North Margin. They got some money and some sunglasses. Another was from a car on Salem. He grabbed an iPod charger and a GPS unit. Let's see. A couple of break-ins for some cars. One car was unlocked. The car was stolen. The remote key was in the car as well. Made it for an easy target. Another larceny took place on Hanover Street where some copper wire was taken. Police tell us that they had no issues with the Super Bowl celebration and with spring break this week, 13th through 19th. They expect a fairly quiet week. A couple of graffiti incidents, one on Henchman, another on Snow Hill. Police say these were not gang related, but more, and not political, but more kid graffiti. And the next meeting is going to be on April 6th.
Excellent, thank you. And in lieu of my Greenway Committee report, we're joined tonight with the Chief of Staff of Greenway, Michael Nichols, so I defer to him.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, John. Got my notes on my phone, so I'll just do it up here. But thank you, everyone, for being here. A couple of Greenway updates from this past year. I'm really excited to announce, and some of you may have seen this in Greenway publications we put out recently, that the Conservancy set another record for all-time trackable visits in the past year. So 2016 set a record where 1.4 million trackable visitors were in the park. And when I say trackable, as you know, if you're just kind of passing through the park, we're not able to count that, reading a book or looking at the art pieces. But the 1.4 million trackable visits were for event attendees, Wi-Fi logins, carousel riders, and food truck patrons. So that number 7 years ago was 90,000. And we're now up to 1.4 million people who were able to track in just one calendar year visiting the park. And I'm sure many of them are coming out of the North End. So thank you guys for continuing to support the park, supporting the food truck program, the art program, and so many other things. Our fitness classes are in there as well. So thank you for that. A couple of just announcements on things that are opening. The Greenway Open Market will be back on May 6th. So the Greenway Open Market, as you know, is every Saturday and every other Sunday throughout the course of the summer. It's our open market series, usually 40 to 60 different artisan vendors making handmade products, usually food or drink or art or different things to have around the house. That will return May 6th, and again every Saturday and every other Sunday throughout the core season. Our farmers market in Dewey Square will be back every Tuesday and Thursday from 11 to 6 p.m. on Dewey Square. You guys are even, that's through the Boston Public Market, so you're even closer here to the public market. But if you're in the Dewey Square area, that's returning. Also in Dewey Square, every Thursday beginning May 12th will be our block party series. These are incredibly popular. Free admission, free live music, $4 beer and wine, lawn games, things like that. We get probably 600 to 1,000 people a week at those. Again, really popular. Those will be back May 12th. Our free fitness classes, we just completed an RFP program for that. Of the 400 free events that the Greenway Conservancy offers each year, over 100 of them are actually free fitness classes. And so we know those are particularly popular for those who live or work in the area. We expect to have probably another approximately 100 free fitness classes. Many of those, as I think you all know, are concentrated in the North End. We have a lot of folks that live and work in this area who've requested those, and so you'll see those back again this year. It doesn't feel like it today or tomorrow, but the Greenway Carousel will be back open in about 2 weeks. The carousel will open on March 31st, I believe that's a Friday, and remain open weekends until, I believe, Memorial Day, and then from Memorial Day through Columbus Day, it's actually open every single day. So again, open at 11 a.m. every day. The Greenway Carousel will be back open Friday, March 31st. Our food truck season will be back on Saturday, April 1st. So this year we had a record number of applications and trucks that we selected into the program. I know many of you in the North End know that our program is distinct and separate from the city. We do require all our trucks to be permitted by the city, but we actually run our own process. We'll have 35 different trucks stationed in up to 20 different locations throughout the Greenway. That program actually runs full year, so you may see some trucks in the park between now and the end of the month, but that the new season begins April 1st with a new collection of trucks. We'll be announcing which trucks very shortly, along with the Spring Food Truck Festival, which I believe is going to be April 22nd. That's an incredibly family-friendly event sponsored by Stop and Shop in Peapod. We get several hundred, maybe more than 1,000 folks that attend that each year, and that's located fairly close to the North End. So Saturday, October 22nd for that. We'll have a number of our same festivals returning over the course of the summer, so I won't run through all of them, but you can check out the information on our website. But we're up to now having 10 or 12 different festivals, principally located within the North District parks over the course of the summer. Our Greenway Gala and Glow in the Park, so our largest fundraiser that supports the Conservancy, as well as our largest young professional focused fundraiser, will be back on back-to-back nights in June 8th and June 9th. Those will again be in the Rose Wharf area where they've been the last couple of years, so a fairly short walk from this area. A couple of new things. I think some of you may have seen a couple of weeks ago. We brought some very much needed winter activation to the Greenway by doing a pop-up zip line. We had a zip line in our Dewey Square Park in a promotion by the town of, or city of Kissimmee, Florida, did a promotion where they sponsored a free zip line. We had 3,000 to 5,000 people come over the course of the weekend, and there were 3-hour waits on President's Day weekend for the zip line that we had in Dewey Square. That was a wonderful mix of things for us, where it was both revenue generating for the nonprofit Conservancy, where it brought some much needed activity in the winter time. And so I think it was really kind of a win-win all the way around. Based partly on the success of that event, the Conservancy is actually proposing to do a pilot this year of a zip line that would actually be a little closer to the North End. Some of you may know the Parcel 12. Parcel 12 is the ramp parcel that currently has Matthew Hoffman's May It Never End art piece. It's the kind of bright yellow letters that as you're walking near the Dock Square garage spell out 7 short phrases. That art piece will be coming down in April. We've got a number of plans for that parcel specifically, but I think the one that's really exciting for this year is that we're doing a pop-up zip line that I think will be open maybe as many as 7 days a week. It won't be a huge thing, it won't be a loud thing, it won't be very bright. I think we've taken some pains to make sure that it's something that's at a typical level of quality for the Greenway. But one of the things we're really trying to do with that space specifically, in particular, Representative Michaelwitz has been very helpful to us and with us over the last couple of years in trying to bring attention to the fact that the state has an obligation to cover the ramps from the Greenway. So I think you all know the Greenway is not yet a finished park, though I think in many ways the predominantly open space parcels are complete. But there are 3 different ramp parcels that the state has an obligation to study and cover in some way. At one point that was supposed to be covered with buildings. I think those proposals have kind of gone by the wayside, and so now there's a further city-state study that's happening about possibly covering the ramp parcels, which would include Parcel 6, the sort of tangle of ramps that sits outside of the government square, the government center garage. parcel 12, the one that I just described that has the art piece we put on it in a sort of small lawn. And then parcel 18 is the one a little farther north, closer to the Wharf District area. And so as it relates to parcel 12, this is one where the representative's done a lot of good work trying to get the state and the city to study it. We'd like to bring more attention to it. We've done it to this point with art pieces. I think this summer we feel like we can do it with both the zip line concept, bringing new and different people into the area, as well as another art piece. And there actually may be tetherball courts next to the zip line. So it's a parcel that doesn't have irrigation. We can't quite make it as beautiful as a lot of the other parks. And so, as a result of that, we're trying to do more to program it. And so we're really excited about sort of those possibilities for this year, and I'm happy to provide more details about those specifically. We'll again have a very active summer of public art projects, so you can expect probably 5 to 8 in our curatorial theme, which is Playful Perspectives. So for the first time, the Greenway is going to have actually one cohesive curatorial theme for all the art that we do along the Greenway. And there'll be one really amazing piece in the north end. I don't remember if it's on parcel 8 or parcel 10, but one of the parks that's on either side of Hanover Street will get a piece by an artist, and it's called an Ames Room. It's something that, it's a sort of medium-sized podium that when you stand on it, and say you and a friend get up there and stand on it, at different vantage points, you can take a picture, and one person might look 30 feet tall and the other person maybe looks like 2 feet tall, and yet you're standing on the same podium and only a couple of feet apart. So it's sort of a difficult thing to describe, but I think it'll make the North End even a more photogenic place than it's already been. And so you can look for that in the North End parks this year. In addition to that, we'll be hosting 4 winners of the Design Biennial competition. This is an architectural design competition that gives up-and-coming firms from New England an opportunity to showcase something that's a little closer to architectural design than art design, but they're all being asked to actually correspond to the same Playful Perspectives theme, and so you'll see 4 of those pieces in the park this year as well. So that's in addition to our newest mural, which is in Dewey Square. Hopefully many of you have had an opportunity to enjoy that. Spaces of Hope by Iranian artist Mehdi Ganyanlu, and so that's in our Dewey Square Park currently. Also, if you make it down to the other end of the Greenway in Chinatown Park, we have a piece, really kind of a neat and different thing for us. It's a 3D printer that is printing small plastic roosters. It's the year of the rooster for the Chinese New Year, and to have sort of a different and neat take on that, it's actually a 3D laser printer that's sitting in the park for an entire year, and it runs 24 hours a day, and it spits out a plastic rooster every 3 or 4 hours. And if you happen to be there at the time, you can keep the rooster. So it's kind of a neat and different take on celebrating one of the years of the Chinese zodiac. And so if you're down in our Chinatown Park, you'll see that. Another very cool thing that we're piloting this year is, I think, we're currently have accepted bids for the Greenway's first beer or wine garden. This will be sited in the Wharf District area, and so I think many of you are particularly well traveled in this group and have been to other parts of the country or in particular Europe and seen the sort of European style wine bar or wine garden or beer garden. So the Greenway wanted to bring that sense to Boston. We've had some amazing bids from hotel operators, breweries, restaurant groups, and catering companies. And so we're kind of culling through those right now, but this will be in our Wharf District parks near the Rose Wharf area. It'll be well regulated. It'll have fairly short hours, I think, in the first year. So think probably 3 to 5 days a week, maybe from 3 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. But it's an experiment in allowing people to go and enjoy our food trucks and then walk into sort of a secure area and have a glass of wine or a craft beer. And so we're really excited to pilot that for the first time this season in our Wharf District parks. Last thing I'll mention for tonight is Let's Dance Boston was an incredibly popular event for North End and Wharf District residents in particular 2 years ago. It was a partnership with the Celebrity Series of Boston. That event took 1 year off and is now back on the Greenway again this year. It'll be September 13th through the 17th. What that event is that we actually bring in partnership with the Celebrity Series, professional dance instructors who do about 45 minutes of instruction to anyone that shows up that night. Latin, swing, disco, different types of dances, and then at the end there's a live band that's usually also regional or national that will come in and actually play live music for you to be able to dance the music that you just, or the moves that you just learned at the preceding dance instruction. So we had hundreds per night at that event when we did it 2 years ago. It is moving a little farther from the North End. It'll be in our Dewey Square Park this fall, but September 13th to 17th, a really exciting event. So That's it for sort of what we have going on this year. There's always opportunities to work with the Greenway. We have an amazing volunteer program, and a couple of the other neighborhood associations in the area are volunteering a day this year and putting together a group to volunteer. If that's something you're interested in, I'd encourage you to do it. Another great opportunity is our membership program is newly retooled this year. So Greenway membership starts as little as $60 a year, and for the first time we have a discount program this year where you can get discounts on parking at garages in the area. If, say, you have visitors coming to town and you need somewhere for them to park, or some of our food trucks or other eateries in the area, coffee shops in the area are providing discounts. So that's in addition to some of the other benefits we used to have, like free carousel rides and things like that. So $60, all tax deductible, goes to support the Greenway. So a lot of different ways to interact with us, and certainly thank you for spending the time that you do in the Greenway, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have on all of that stuff or anything else that I didn't talk about.
Thank you, Michael. I'll just open it up. There's a lot obviously going on, so I know that was a lot to digest, but certainly feel free to visit rosekennedygreenway.org for the complete calendar listing, as well as other things that we just obviously couldn't mention tonight that are going on. But do any council members have questions for Michael before I open up to the audience? Bill?
Can you, I don't know if you can you update us on the state taking $2 million away from you guys?
Sure, be happy to. So I think some of you may have seen news articles recently about the Conservancy. There were a number in the Boston Globe about the state's lease with the Greenway. And so the best way that I can probably summarize it is I've worked for the Greenway about 2.5 years now, and in that 2.5 years we've had 15 leases with the state. So short leases and a number of leases has been sort of the prevailing wisdom at the Greenway, at least since I've been there. There's a long backstory to why that is. I think principally when the park was set up, and so the Conservancy's been managing the park about 8 years now. But the park, in its kind of current form and with the leadership that's there, or the structure that's there now, has been talked about for 15 or 20 years. And I know many of you have been involved in a number of those conversations. And the one thing that's never been clear is how to fund the Greenway in perpetuity. It's never been something that's been agreed to. There's never been some, a blueprint that I think everyone feels is the right approach, and there still isn't, frankly. And so for the last 8 years or so, our budget has largely been entirely the state and the nonprofit Conservancy. It was initially set up to be a 50-50 split. The Greenway Conservancy, I think, has somewhat outperformed our responsibilities under that agreement, and so we now deliver about 60% of our own budget. And so that 60% comes in almost entirely from earned income. So the carousel and the food truck program, for examples, or that beer garden I was talking about before. Some of the events that have charges to them, although most of our events are free, as well as private giving. So we have a very robust private giving philanthropy program. That accounts for 60% of our budget. The state provides the other 40% at about $2 million a year. Over the course of the history or the life of the Greenway, the state has often signaled the fact that they believe they should be providing less than that $2 million a year or less than that 40% of our budget. Depends on sort of what year you catch them and who you're talking to. But over time, I think the state has felt like there should be other parties at the table. Those other parties, I think, are principally either the city of Boston, which currently does not contribute any resources directly to the Conservancy for management of the Greenway, or the private property abutters that align the Greenway. And there's roughly 160 private properties that abut the Greenway. The top 40 of them have a joint assessed value of about $6 billion. And those buildings currently donate, of all the buildings that align the Greenway, they donate approximately $100,000 a year to the Greenway. And so the state's position is, I think, somewhat long time been that they should have other parties at the table contributing to support of the Greenway. Our current lease, which is a 2-year lease, ends June 30th. And so I believe the public position of the state has been that at that time they're not inclined to extend the Greenway's lease, the Conservancy's lease for the Greenway, absent additional contributions from either private property abutters or the city of Boston, or both. I can say, because I think this was in those papers, that there are multi-party conversations that have been going on for quite some time now about what is the right approach to continued support for the Greenway and the continued management of the Greenway Conservancy. I don't think it would necessarily be talking off message to say that we have heard from Mayor Walsh himself, from Governor Baker himself, from the Secretary of Transportation herself, that the Greenway Conservancy is doing a good job, and that while there have been concerns over time about the nonprofit, and I think many of those were prior to the current leadership being there, my boss Jesse Brackenberry and others, there's a long time been a conversation about whether the Conservancy was the right entity to manage the park. It feels like a lot of those conversations have gone away. I'm prideful in the work that we do. I think we have an outstanding staff. I think we have a terrific board, including John, who serves on our board from NEWNC. Representative Michaelwitz has taken a really considerable interest in the Greenway. In particular, about 4 years ago, helped pass legislation that retooled our board, that put a number of more community voices on it than were there before. NEWNC is represented, NEWRA is represented, 3 or 4 other neighborhood associations are represented. Our state senator and our state rep have appointments to the board. The mayor has 2 appointments. The governor has 2 appointments. The Department of Transportation and the Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs all have appointments. So we have a board that has a really diverse leadership now. The Conservancy ourselves only control 1/3 of the seats on our own board, which is very unique for a nonprofit. And so I think it's really well managed. I think all studies of our spending have shown that we're doing it really efficiently at a high level and at a lower cost of what a comparable park might cost to manage. And so the whole equation now is just how do we identify the right sources of funding for the Conservancy to be able to continue to do what we do. In my sort of personal opinion, there are virtually no parks in the country that are completely off state funding, or completely off government funding, I should say. Parks are civic assets. Parks are things that are that have typically government money at a foundational level, and then after that foundational level is achieved, then a private operator like the Conservancy should be in a position to leverage those public dollars into more private dollars. And I think that's what we've done so far. For every public dollar that's come into the Greenway, we have leveraged it for $1.50 of private money. And I think over time, and with a stable climate, and with an understanding of the government's foundational support, I think we can do even better than that, frankly. And so we're a baby park. We've been open about 8 years. I think it takes some time to grow the earned income in the private philanthropy. 6 or 7 years ago, we were raising about $100,000 a year in earned income, and now that's at $900,000 a year. So we're a 9-fold increase over just where we were 5 or 6 years ago. So I think the Conservancy is going in the right direction. I'm pretty confident that we will continue to be the managing entity after July 1st. I believe all the parties that are discussing it care about the Greenway, care about the fact that North End residents and waterfront residents and the Chinatown residents that had to deal with the Big Dig as a construction project deserve to have a world-class park. We've gotten tremendous support from our state senator and our state rep, as well as our city councilor, and so I think we've got the leadership in place to get the right deal, and while I don't have anything to report on those negotiations tonight beyond my optimism, I am optimistic that we'll have a good deal at the end of it.
Excellent. Anyone else from the audience have any questions for Mike? All right, well, great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to the reports from our local elected officials.
Good evening, everyone. Maria Lanza, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. A couple of updates. First, to start off, I think everyone knows by now we are going to get some snow tomorrow. So a couple of updates from the city on that. All Boston public schools will be closed, as well as libraries and city-owned buildings for non-emergency personnel. Daytime street cleaning is canceled tomorrow. There will be a parking ban that will start in effect at 7 o'clock in the morning for the North End proper. That's Commercial Street, Hanover Street, and Cross Street. Standalone community centers will be open, so the Desire Center will be open tomorrow. And for public transit, you'd have to check the MBTA schedule or call 617-222-3200 for more information. And due to the snow, trash will be starting collection at 5 a.m. tomorrow. It's not a trash day here, but just general knowledge. And then moving on, tomorrow night, the previously scheduled North Station Area Mobility Action Plan meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow, 2 sessions, one from 12 to 2 at the Causeway and one from 6 to 8 at the Amy Lowell House. Those have been rescheduled for next Tuesday, March 21st. Same times and locations, and those will be focusing on the Bullfinch Triangle transportation improvements. For more information, you can go to bpda.org/NSAMAP. On Tuesday, March 28th, there will be a community meeting sponsored by the Boston Parks and Recreation Department regarding the Powerville Mall, as we call it, the Prado. That will be at 6:30 at the Old North Church, located at 193 Salem Street, so please come and share your feedback on what you'd like to see in the Prado. And finally, summer job registration has now opened, so if you are looking for your child or anyone else that you know from the ages of 15 to 19 who is a full-time resident of the city of Boston, you can check all the information for applications out at youth.boston.gov. And I'll hold my Love Your Block 2017 update because we have Janet and Sarah here from Love Your Block, and they're gonna talk to you guys about that a little later. Thanks, John.
And then I have Kathy Frangelo from Council of Martinez office.
Maria has recovered again. That's all the points.
And then Patrick Lyons from Representative Michaelitz.
Hey everyone, nothing new real report, just here to listen tonight.
Thank you. And then finally, Luigi Natale from Senator
Thank you, Mr.
Boncory.
President, members of the council. My name is Luigi Natale from Senator Joseph Boncory's office. The senator will be attending next month's meeting. He will be giving a briefing on the legislative priorities for this session. Hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, excellent. So then before we get on to our agenda item tonight, just a quick update about our election, which is coming in May. Next month, April 10th, we'll be distributing nomination papers. They will be due by the 1st of May at 6 o'clock. The election will take place on the 3rd Saturday of May. We'll also go over some other important election details, namely the election committee, of which is comprised myself, Michael Benetti, who's not present, Daniel D'Ambrosio, who's not present, Marisa Boli, who just joined us, and Gennaro Riccio and Brett Roman. So we'll provide you an update, detailed update with that.